What up, peeps? So I just saw Elvis and I liked it. It was pretty good overall despite not being a huge Baz Luhrmann fan or an Elvis fan. Now, I don't think that Luhrmann is a bad director, it's just that his directing style just doesn't connect with me very much. A lot of the elements that I don't like in his other films seems to work best in this film. One of my biggest turn-offs of his past films is that he doesn't seem to really let scenes breathe. Scenes seem to feel more like they're brief checklisted moments and we're just rushing transitioning to the next scene, and it feels like that was just the next thing that had to happen in the film. It doesn't feel like his movies are really taking its time to allow scenes to develop, but here it's pretty prevalent. But considering how long this movie is, it didn't really feel distracting. The first half left a bit of a negative impression on me for this very issue, but the second half seemed to have a little more restraint in that field. Luhrmann still directed this film with some very high energy and respectful passion for one of the most important icons in music, Austin Butler. I mean, it goes without saying that his performance is what really carries the film. At no point did I ever feel like Austin Butler was just doing an Elvis impression. He really nailed every nuance of Elvis, from the largest and tiny details, shifting between each emotion perfectly. And yes, that is him actually doing his own singing. It's honestly one of the most impressive performances I think I've seen in a film in a long time. And if he was to win an Oscar for this movie, I would not be against that at all. I mean, he had some pretty big shoes to fill and managed to execute the role pretty strongly. And wow, has Austin Butler come a long way from Zoe 101. Good for you, bro. Good for you. Tom Hanks was pretty decent, but I don't understand why they had to bury him in makeup and prosthetics and make him talk and sound ridiculous instead of just hiring a heavyset guy. I don't know. I guess Tom Hanks is just a bigger name than Austin Butler, so I guess that helps rack in more audience members. But either way, both had pretty defined chemistry, and the makeup and prosthetics never felt too distracting as the movie went on. The music was well implemented and the song choices worked well for the scenes they were placed in. There is one thing that I like about Baz Luhrmann, is that he utilizes modern day music into much older time settings to give a sense of how the music back then sounded to them. And I don't know if that's making any sense, but some of the hip-hop tracks suited well and were never really overbearing, except one where they sampled one of Elvis's songs in the background of the track, and I kind of hated it. But Luhrmann seems to understand music well enough to know how to appropriately add them at the right time in the film. If there's any issues I have with this movie, once again, it's just personal issues that I personally have with Luhrmann's films and him as a director. He over-edits and overcuts sometimes, but when it works, it's fairly well executed. This might not bother everyone else, especially if you liked Luhrmann's past films, but it can feel like this movie is just trying to assault every aspect of my senses at times. But overall, I felt this was a pretty solid yet still standard biopic that checks all the boxes of the biopic formula, but Luhrmann adds enough of his own flair to help it still be an entertaining ride. I felt that the runtime was perfectly justified, and I recommend this to Elvis fans mostly, and I'm gonna give this film a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Alright peeps, I'm still editing the rest of my second part of my Chip and Dale review, and hopefully I'll get it done by the beginning of this week coming. So just be patient with me, and peace out and love y'all.